the Quran. The presentation lasts for 45 minutes, followed by discussion. I extend you, Father Anthony, a cordial welcome, the name of all gathered here, and I invite you to present your paper.
Good morning. Respected moderator of this session, Reverend Dr. Joseph Kuchwarambil, the Seminary Commission Chairman and my Bishop, Archbishop Mar George Naralakat, Very Reverend Father Rector Dr. Mani Ate, our Prefect of Studies Dr. Jose Marati, the coordinator of this seminar, Dr. Matthew Paridari, our eminent guests who have come over here to present the papers, Dr. Mangos Mekadunel, Joseph Nalpadincheril, Dr. Joy Kakanat, Reverend Fathers, Reverend Sisters, our distinguished guests and theologians, and my dear young theologians and philosophers. I am very much honored and privileged to greet all of you this morning and discuss with you the very first theme of the seminar on Bible interpretation. I thank you all for your kind attention. A special thanks go to Reverend Dr. Joseph Kuchwarambil for his kind words, and also I thank the committee that has entrusted me the presentation of this paper. With your permission, I begin the discussion. The main points will be projected here. Details will be available in an article in the coming MTR. Many theologians are still more familiar with the so-called documentary hypothesis of Julius Wellhausen in analyzing Pentateuch and its theological concepts. Many modern scholars, however, do not hold any longer the documentary hypothesis as useful key to open Pentateuch. Accordingly, this paper considers Pentateuch as a single literary unit, first codified by the Deuteronomists, who edited different theological traditions of the various groups in Israel on the basis of the monotheistic theology. Throughout the Bible, names often have special meaning and significance. From the beginning of Genesis, a name was not just used for identification of a person, but more importantly, for identity as well. Adam, for example, ground, it means. Abraham means exalted father. Abraham, father of multitude. The biblical God revealed himself to Israel in several contexts, together with one of his new names that was in some way related to that particular setting. These names carry with them specific theological concepts. As a result, a study of the names of God in Pentateuch, to understand the concept of the divine is reasonable. The very first and the most used name appropriately ascribed to God, emphasizing his name, is Elohim, which is the plural of El. The name El signifies strength, might, and power. El is an ancient Semitic noun used in the Bible as a generic name for any Gentile god, as well as for the true God of Israel. In the patriarchal narratives that report the ancient tradition of the tribes, this name in its various forms dominates. El was worshipped by the proto-Israelites in Canaan, as it is proved by some biblical texts. For example, you have in Isaiah lamentation about the downfall of the universal ruler. So, our knowledge of the original ancient Near Eastern conception of the name El predominantly comes from the ancient Ugaritic. Ugaritic literature depicts El as the sovereign deity of Canaanite pantheon, who appeared like a bearded grandfather. He was the creator of man He was called Father of Humankind, El the Kind, the Compassionate, the Bull, the Ageless One, the Holy One, and the Father of Years. In Mesopotamia, he was worshipped as Elu. We know the name of Elu, the Babel. In Phoenicia, in the 8th century, he was worshipped as El Creator of the earth. This deity is seen in Genesis 14 in the story of Melchizedek. In contrast to the ancient Gentile notion, when the Deuteronomist uses the plural of Elohim in Genesis, it does in no way imply any polytheism, and the biblical creation of the world is not done by many gods, because the verb that follows Elohim is undoubtedly singular. As the Pentateuchal narrative continues, this name El is further combined with other ancient manifestations of El that are integrated into this name by the author, giving greater insight into El's identity. These names are the following: El Elyon, God Most High. Melchizedek reveals to Abraham that the Most High God has helped or fought for Abraham to achieve an impossible victory possible and to save Lot from the coalition of powerful kings. As part of recognizing God's sovereignty, Abraham paid Melchizedek a tribute, that is the tithe to the priest of El Elyon. El Roy, God who sees me. This name appears in the story of Hagar, as she was very much troubled and was running away from her mistress Sarai, the God of Abraham. The powerful and motherly God appears to Hagar as El Roy and consoles and directs her, giving her new orientation. This picture of God is discovered often only by those who are in affliction. That is, for example, the people of God in bondage. El Shaddai. Another name that revealed to Abraham is El Shaddai. The name appears in the context of God changing the names of both Abraham and Jacob and demands from them more commitment to God. Originally, the name Shaddai meant the nourishing, sustaining, nurturing, and self-determined and all-inclusive supplying aspects of the mighty God. Later, this gained the meaning of all-powerful, that's what is in Pantocrator or omnipotence, covenant God. That means that El Shaddai is a God of the covenant who always accompanies the lives of his devotees, remembering his covenant, who wishes to take control of the lives by changing the name and behavior, and who demands on their part total obedience to his directives. El Olam is eternal God. After making a treaty and covenant with Abimelech and people, Abraham worshipped God as El Olam. By calling on his covenant partner God El Olam, Abraham was calling on the God who was always and eternally available to him and helped him in that foreign land, according to his covenant promise. El Elohe Israel, God, the God of Israel. This is similar to another name, that is El Elohe Aviha, El God of your father. This name records the covenant of God with Abraham and Israel, the fathers. This is the name which Jacob gave to the altar he erected after his confrontation, that you know the story of the fight with God and God's blessing over him when he came back from Mesopotamia. This is the God who confronts his chosen, one who is terrified and discouraged and encourages him to go forward on the right path. El Bethel, God of Bethel. Bethel is the name of the place where Jacob had the vision of the ladder and where he erected an altar. Jacob saw a ladder connecting heaven and earth. God of Israel is the one who links the people to heaven and the heavenly world. El Rahum and El Hanun both mean God of compassion. There are these are two names found in relation to the covenant. El Rahum is God of compassion and kindness, who has gentle feelings for his covenant people. As a result, he is completely free from cruelty or pettiness. Even after Israel having committed the greatest sin of idolatry that provokes God to jealousy, if Israel repents and turns to God and obeys his words, he will show compassion. That is according to Deuteronomy 4. El Elohe ha-ruhot lehol basar. God, the God of the spirit of all flesh. This name is revealed in the context of the rebellion of Korah and his friends against the leader Moses and against God. For the rebellion, they were rightly punished. God is the one who gives life to all, that is, he is the creator of all. God created us with physical and spiritual dimensions. He claims lordship over body and soul, flesh and spirit. God is a total master of our lives. No rebellion against God and the right authority is permitted or foreseen. Elkanah, jealous God. That means El is a God who demands exclusive love, worship, honor, and praise. He allows no room for anyone or anything else as an object of human worship. In ancient Ugaritic, violent jealousy was not the behavior of El, but of the goddesses. When the Deuteronomist identified El and Yahweh, he also seems to have integrated the qualities of goddesses into the one true God. God is the creator of human beings. He breathes into man his life-giving spirit. He wants that the life that he has given and the relationship infused through his breath remain intact. The relationship that exists between God and Israel is that of a marriage-like covenant. God here is also revealing this name in the context of the covenant and its obligations. If one man sees his wife flirting with another man, he will be jealous. Similarly, the jealous God El, who is Yahweh Kana, is jealous over his image Israel. Jealousy originates from Israel, God's covenant relationship with Israel. Naaman, faithful or loyal God. Naaman is the God who is faithful and loyal in all what he does and in all what he says. He is loyal to all those who love and obey him. Connected with the Hebrew word eman, faithful, actually means to prop up, to stay, or to support. The intransitive use of the word signifies to make steady or secure oneself or to be supported. When applied to a person, it describes a person you can lean on, someone you can count on for security and support at all times. El Gadol, the great God. El is great because of four things. It defends the cause of the weak, the faithful, the fatherless, the widow, the stranger, and the alien. He wants us to know that he is greater than our enemies. 3. He is the God who is devoid of human shortcomings. He does not show partiality nor take a bribe. 4. His works are great as Israel has already experienced. He made Israel grow to be a great nation and delivered them from Egypt. This too remains one of the covenant of God which was with Israel. God's greatness is a comfort to the faithful Israel. El Emunah, faithful God. God keeps his promises. Abraham trusted a man in God, then God counted him as righteous. Since God would remain faithful in his promises in every situation, is defined as a rock. Together with this definition, rock, occurs this name of God in Deuteronomy 32. If God is faithful like a rock, Israel should trust him, and unbelief will be punished by him. Yeshurun, God of righteous people. The word Yeshurun used in the context of affection means righteous people or the dear upright people. This divine title is thought to be coined by 2nd Isaiah in order to call Israel to live up to its meaning, that is, to be righteous. When Deuteronomy applied it, it became reproachful. God wants to be the God of the upright and blessed people. Eloah, the exact meaning is unknown. Eloah is said to be derived from the Hebrew Elah. The given literary context of some texts convey the idea of comfort to God's people and fear to their enemies. Habakkuk 3 speaks of Eloah coming from Teman. This was a divine title known in the ancient Near East and especially in connection with Teman. Elohim, God of the beginnings. Heder means friend, east, former, or place or time, that is, east or beginnings. Beginning. God is unique and there was no one before him or like him, and there will be no one after. He is a pre-existent eternal God. He is the creator God of all and thus is distinct from every creature. He is the protection, safety, and security of his people. His arms encircle us like a shield, according to Deuteronomy. Whenever we run unto him as our refuge, then we are safe. Elohim Kadoshim. This is a title known to us. Holiness implies both the separation from everything profane and polluting and the dedication of everything to be holy and pure. People of God must imitate God and become holy like him, putting into practice the laws of the holy God. Conclusions about this. Er is an ancient name of God who was venerated by several Canaanite peoples. He had local manifestations which highlighted some of his special characteristics. The Pentateuch presents several divine names that are combined with the ancient created God Er. Each of these names represent a special feature attributed to this God or conceived of him as having. Although the author presents God under different names, which are united with the divine name El, the first name of God found in Pentateuch is its plural form Elohim. Since monotheism is the basic theology of Pentateuch, one can reasonably assume that all these Er names represent one and the same God of Israel. At the same time, the biblical author calls this God Elohim, that is, God of gods, implying that Elohim is a uniplurality in whom all these characteristic features of various El manifestations are combined together. And the same meaning is also communicated by the title El Elyon, God Most High. If one puts all these 17 El names in Pentateuch together, some idea or notion of the plural Elohim can be inferred. That is given in your notes. The name Elohim seems to emphasize more the universal, general, and all-pervading activity of God. Now we go to the second name, that is Yahweh. In the second section of the creation account and the following events in Genesis, there is an intentional shift of the same name of God from Elohim to Yahweh. Yahweh is a proper name of the God of Israel. While Elohim is used only 5 times in this text, Yahweh Elohim is used 20 times and Yahweh 10 times. Notably here the name Yahweh is not used alone, but together with the unipolarity name Elohim. In the context of the monotheist frame of the Deuteronomist, both these names point to the one and the same God. This will later be clarified in Exodus, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. According to Pentateuch and the prophets, Yahweh is a covenant personal name of God. The Bible identifies the Israelite God Yahweh with the greatest God of the Canaanite pantheon, calling Yahweh El. In fact, before the origin of Israel, that is 14th century approximately, groups of Midianites and Edomites worshipped Yahweh as their God. Also, according to the Bible, Yahweh comes from Edom and Seir. In Moses' blessing, Yahweh is considered to be coming from Sinai, from Seir and Paran. According to Habakkuk, Yahweh comes from Teman and Mount Paran. The Kuntitat Ayru, the inscription from Eastern Sinai, also speaks of Yahweh of Teman. As it is clear, all these texts speak of Yahweh coming from somewhere near Teman. Through Canaanites and Midianite traders, faith in Yahweh should have reached Israel. After having presented the creation of the world by Elohim in Genesis, general terms, the biblical author presents God who was closely involved in the creation of man and his life and happiness. Accordingly, he introduces this God with a new name, that is Yahweh. It is not that God simply created man and left him to live as his own. Rather, from the very outset, God had an intimate personal relationship with him. He made a garden for him, he walked with him, cared for his happiness, and guarded the relationship through his commandment. Revelation of the name of God. There are 3 important texts of the revelation of God that are prominent in order to understand the image of Yahweh. The first one is Exodus 3:14. This is the context of the call of Moses. Moses kept up the exasperating occasions to God of how anyone would believe that Moses had spoken to God. Therefore, Moses wanted to know at least the name of God. God replied, Yehye Asher Yehye, which should accurately be translated as I will be what I will be, or as I will become whatever I may become, and not as I am who am as generally done, because this is future, here. So what does it mean? When the statement I will become whatever I may become is seen in relationship to Yahweh, he can be defined as he who becomes or be. Both these Hebrew clauses, Ehyeh, Asher Ehyeh, use the word become. Yahweh reveals 2 important points. One, as the covenant God, Yahweh can become whatever they want him to become for them. Second, in his omnipotence, he can be powerful over anyone at any time. The second relevant text of revelation of Yahweh in Deuteronomy 5 comes from the desert wandering tradition of Israel, Exodus 34. When Israel bravely sinned by making a golden calf for themselves, Moses interceded for Israel and God relented from consuming the nation. At this point, Moses made the startling request that God show him his glory. God then hid Moses in a rock, caused his glory pass, showed Moses his divine glory, and then revealed certain aspects of divinity. That is, we know the text, he is compassionate, gracious, slow to anger, abounding in loving kindness for thousands of generations, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin, who does not acquit unrepentant sinners, and one who does not erase the consequences of sin. Notably, God is revealed to be compassionate and merciful and just in the context of the greatest sin of Israel. and the subsequent intercession of Moses. Third text. This is about the very first affirmation in the creed of the Jews that they pray every day. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. These four words may be variously rendered into English because there is no punctuation used in between the words. But most of all, almost all possible varieties in this translation amount to the same sense. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our God is one Yahweh. Or Yahweh is our God, Yahweh is one. Yahweh is our God, Yahweh alone. This is preferred by the Jews now because they translate Tanakh. Yahweh our God is Yahweh alone. Yahweh is our God, Yahweh who is one, or Yahweh who is our God is the one being. It seems that Echad, one, intends to emphasize the uniqueness of God on the one hand, and Israel's obligation of unswerving loyalty to Him on the other. His people should remain as an unrelenting witness to the one and the only God. Together with these major texts of revelation of Yahweh, there are two other names that are similar to these. There is Adonai. When they write Yahweh, they pronounce it Adonai because use the vocalization of Adonai. And Shaphat, that is the judge. As Supreme Adon, Master and Lord, Yahweh is a God of authority and thus the Supreme Judge Shaphat. Combinations of noun Yahweh. There are also some other names which are combined with the name Yahweh that highlight some other aspects of His nature. Yahweh is more than a righteous judge. He is Yahweh Yireh. This was the God experience of Abraham, the point of sacrificing his only son. Abraham was relieved by God in that difficult situation. He is Yahweh Yireh. Yahweh provides for all the needs of those who trust in Him. Those who are in covenant relations with Yahweh shall lack no provisions because He will provide their needs. God cares for their physical and spiritual needs and nourishes, guides, and redeems them like a good shepherd. That is is also dependable to the sheep like a rock, even, and it is revealed through these things are revealed through the names Abir, Roi, and Evan. Abir means the mighty one. Moreover, Yahweh has revealed Himself as their guide. It is called Yahweh Nissi. Yahweh is my banner. In warfare, when they did two things. One, when they interceded with Yahweh. And second, when they fought in the field vigorously, they had to do both things. Faith in Yahweh, obedience to Him, and the experience of Yahweh as a healer, that is Yahweh Rapha, go together. Yahweh, the Creator, Redeemer, Covenant God of Israel. As we have seen, Yahweh is the name of the Redeemer God of Israel who personally cares for man and establishes a covenant with them. All the above said divine names connected to Yahweh assume the existing covenant relationship that Israel has with Yahweh. As a result, it is necessary to understand what this covenant really meant, both for Israel and for God, in order to have a clear image of God, Yahweh, and thus to give a reasonable interpretation of His word. Yahweh wishes to have a relationship with Israel, the covenant. In Pentateuch, Elohim and Yahweh are identified as one and the same God. Torah speaks of 5 covenants that God made with His people. A covenant is made to form a special relationship. In the beginning, relationship with God and with fellow men was most important thing that God made man different from other creatures. That relation was lost as a result of disobedience of the first parent. When the relation with God was thus lost, all other things in the relationship suffered. That is why God tried to re-establish the lost relationship in various degrees by means of several covenants. In explaining covenant of God with Israel, the Pentateuch and the remaining parts of the Bible present two models of relationship that are assumed in the narrative: marriage, that is husband and wife, and king subject. Both husband and the king demand exclusive love and exclusive trust. Prophet Hosea, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel used the marriage imagery in relation to Yahweh's covenant with Israel. In the political milieu, covenant was a common term in the ancient Near East. The ancient covenants, known as suzerainty treaties, describe the relationship between the emperor and his vassal. Deuteronomy itself is in the form of a suzerainty treaty. The Deuteronomic law code is that Israel is the chosen people of Yahweh. That means they are in covenant relationship with God. This election is the consequence of the love of God towards Israel. Because he loved your fathers, he chose their heirs after them. He himself, in his might, led you out of Egypt. Yahweh was attached to Israel and wished to have a binding relationship. He had a devouring or burning love for them. He could rightly be called Yahweh Kana or Elkanah. He was jealous. It was an emotion-related decision of will to love. It was also a love, a father, a disciplining love, and a protective care. He is a compassionate God. Since they have made a covenant of love relationship, Israel should absolutely commit to him in love. God's selection of Israel and the covenant with them make Israel different in three ways. One, in the first place, Israel is declared to be a holy people. Second, Israel was to be God's inheritance, Nakala. Third, Israel is a peculiar people, that is Amsegulla, a people especially prized and treasured by Yahweh. Law, love, and the covenant. What is the relationship between the covenant and the exhortation to love God with all one's heart? God's grace calls forth from Israel a love for him, which would result in her watching to follow the rules he has given to guide her in the way to live. Election should be followed by obedience. Israel is required to love God and serve him. That is Deuteronomy 6:5, which provides a basis and a motivation for keeping the law and commandments. God's love towards them in the future will be dependent on Israel's obedience to and love of him. God's love expects a spontaneous counter love in the form of obedience. Covenant and love aim at a relation with God and with fellow men. The God established a twofold relationship. Man-God, man-man was lost in Eden. When the covenant with God restores God-man relationship, it will also affect the human relationship. Relationship with God is important for their mutual relationship. In the Deuteronomic covenant code, therefore, more than 70 separate laws are given to guide or regulate the covenant of the Israel with one another. The Israel was not to trust in treat his neighbor right simply because he was the best for himself and his neighbor. Utilitarianism was not the motive of keeping the law in Israel. If that had been the truth, then breaking the law would have been a crime. But in Israel, law breaking was called a sin against God. Enemy of relationship, idol and idolatry. In Israel's fidelity to true God and obedience to Him will result in Israel's existence as God's covenant people. God's love for Israel demands from God's chosen people a continuing faithful love response. Idolatry is the most serious sin because it violates the first commandments of the covenant. It was considered as such a threat to community and congregation that the death penalty was meted out to anyone who enticed others to idolatry. As witnesses to the disaster at Baal Peor, Moses in Deuteronomy gives God's statutes and ordinances that prohibit all kinds of idolatry. The so-called deities are coming to the conclusion. Deities are not gods. The gods and the riches of the idolaters are the most abominable things on earth. Idolatry promotes the destruction of all the nations that do not accept Yahweh. Idolatry consists in making something other than God one's God. It can be conscious or unconscious, deliberate or unintentional. It seeks to replace what cannot be seen with something that can be seen. It is physically oriented. Idolatry is a matter of leadership, since ultimately whatever we serve is our God, and whatever is our God is what we follow. Conclusions. In a seminar on Bible interpretation, what conclusions can we draw from all these? Pentateuch presents several divine names that mostly represent different but related concepts of the divine. At the same time, Israelite monotheism integrates all these names into two uni-plurality divine names. Elohim, the universal and preserver God, and Yahweh, the covenant God of Israel, as two names for the one and the same God. Most of the Pentateuch and the ancient Jewish concepts of the divine are covered by these two names. Bible interpretation should also adopt a corresponding model. That is my suggestion. 1. Since every interpretation tries to communicate the will of God to the people, each interpretation should be a reflection of at least one of these revealed faces of God. It will also promote diversity and plurality of interpretations, but they all should remain united under the one church, more specifically the hierarchy and the basic unit of the church, the parish. Unity is the most important because Yahweh is one. Second, interpretation of good news should also be filled with compassion and mercy even in difficult situations, but never forgetting the honest demands of covenant with God. 3. Any possible mode of interpreting itself shall not be an idol. Just remember Moses striking the rock for water. Once it was good, once it was a sin. 4. Biblical God wishes to restore the original and then lost divine human relationship, so He established covenants periodically. Interpretation should aim at bringing man step by step to a living relationship both with God and with fellow men. 5. God of Israel is omnipotent, so that He can become whatever people want Him to become for them. 6. He desires man's primary and personal love. Anything that is loved more than Him is an idol. It can be true idols, ideologies, social service, love for publicity, money, power, recognition, even imbalanced theological concepts. Grabbing the seat of the loving God, they break the God-man and interhuman relationships. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anthony, for your brilliant and scholarly exposition of the subject. Now it is time for discussions. The floor is open to you. We are 10 minutes behind of scheduled time, yet we have time for a few interventions. You are welcome. Yes.
Arun, I thank you for your wonderful paper presentation.